Hey everyone, it's Brendan with Cusack Prep coming at you with another video to help you prepare for the SAT and maybe the ACT if you want to use it for that as well. So what this video is going to be about is just going to be a short introduction to volume and surface area problems. Now you can see I don't have a lot written on the page to start, and that's because fortunately the SAT is very kind to you. Funny, but in this case they are. And they actually are nice enough to provide you with a lot of the equations that are going to be needed to solve these kind of volume and surface area problems. So I went ahead and put up an example of one of the equation sheets that's provided at the beginning of either math section on the SAT. Now, if you weren't aware of this, I highly advise you go to a math section of an SAT and take a look at it. This equation sheet really can help you with a number of problems and get you out of a jam just in case you've forgotten one of the questions. All you have to remember is where to look to find them. So what we can see here is a number of equations that are going to help you with the area as well as the circumference of a circle, a ton of equations related to triangles, and then really just kind of a number of equations related to the volume of various three-dimensional shapes. Now, in case it's been a while since you've been in a geometry course, I'm going to go ahead and redefine volume and surface area. So if we look down here, look at that. We can see that volume is defined as the amount of space occupied by an object, and volume is typically three dimensions. We have some kind of width, some kind of height, and some kind of depth associated to find a volume. Surface area is going to be the area of the outer part of an object, and you can also think of that as the sum, remember sum means addition, of all areas outside of a shape. And surface area is typically two dimensions. So just to emphasize that, volume might have something like meters cubed as a unit. It could be feet cubed, centimeters cubed, really it can be any number of things. Surface area, on the other hand, is going to be something squared. So it might be meters squared, could potentially be feet squared, could be centimeters squared, or inches squared. Same thing, cubic inches up here. Square. Okay, so what do they try to do on the SAT to throw you off with these kinds of problems? Because even though I said they were nice earlier, we know the College Board is really out to trick you. A few different things they can do. Occasionally, they might ask you for an answer that's in feet, but then provide you with a question that's in inches. So you may have to do some kind of unit conversion. Now, I believe they're usually going to tell you that 1 foot is 12 inches. I would memorize that if you don't know that anyway. But also centimeters, they probably tell you 100 centimeters is 1 meter. I don't believe they expect you to have those concepts memorized. A few other things I want to point out related to these equations. Notice they don't give you any equations for surface area. So they tell you the volume of a three-dimensional shape. They tell you the volume of this rectangular solid, this cylinder, this sphere, this cone, and this pyramid, but they don't really tell you anything about the surface area. Well, fortunately, a lot of these equations up here are helpful to help you figure out the surface area. So if I were to look at this shape right here, this rectangular prism, I can see that it has 6 sides, and each of those sides has an identical side that's directly opposite of it. So the surface area for this shape would be 2LW. Basically what I'm doing when I do L times W is I'm finding that area. The 2 represents the fact that there's this face on top and there's an identical face that's on the bottom, plus 2LH. Let me color code this to make it a little bit easier. So let's say we did 2LH. Well, if we do the length times the height, that's going to be this face, as well as the face that's directly behind it. And then we can also do W times H, which is going to be that face, as well as the face directly behind it. So the surface area of a rectangular prism can really just be found by knowing the area of each of the rectangular faces. The surface area for a cylinder can also be found by knowing that both the top face and the face at the bottom are just circles. So that surface area would be 2 times pi r squared. And then what about this? This is maybe a little bit more confusing. How do we figure out that face? Well, I have here a sheet of paper, and if I look at this sheet of paper, you can see that it's clearly a rectangle that has a length up here, and we'll call this the width. Now, if I were to take this and turn it into a cone, we can see how the length of that cone is now the circumference of the circle. So you see how length became the circumference? Might not be the best visual, but hopefully you're able to see that. So because the length becomes the circumference, we're going to have 2 pi r times the height. You can also choose just to memorize this formula, as it might be helpful. Surface area for a sphere, again, that's probably something they're going to provide you with if they were to ask about it. But in case you want to memorize it, surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. Those of you in calculus may notice that this is the derivative of the volume. Don't worry about it if you're not in calculus. And then for these two shapes, probably really not going to be asked about the surface area. I haven't seen questions related to that. If you were to be asked, though, you would have to find the area of each of these faces and multiply it by 4, and then add that to the area of the bottom. Okay, so that's just a basic introduction. That's to kind of get you familiar with the concepts of volume, surface area, and also where all the equations are on the SAT that can really help you out. Hope you found this video helpful. Please continue in the playlist to see some example problems of common questions that appear on the SAT. Thanks for watching.